Okay, so this is for us to practice domain and range given situations. So for number 1, it says Kelly is hanging out with her friends when they all decided they were hungry and wanted McDonald's. The McDonald's is 20 miles away, but a cop started following them, so they have to stick to the speed limit of 16 miles per hour. Okay, so first I want to determine my rate of change. Well, I know it has to be 16 because it's already connected to the miles per hour, so I'm going to put 16 here. So therefore, my equation is going to be y equals 16x. Okay, and I know a lot of us want to throw in this 20 right here, but this is just this is giving us our range for the situation, because this is just the total amount of miles that they're going to be driving. So then let's go ahead and set up our table. Our x is going to be our hours. It's going to be our time. Okay, and then our y value is going to be our miles. This is going to be our distance. Okay, so I know that I am going to start for my distance 0, and I'm going to drive all the way to 20 miles. Okay, and then for my time, I know it's going to start at 0, but it's going to go all the way to whatever x is assigned to this 20, whatever gives me the output of 20. So what I want to do is I want to go to, or actually, well, first let's ask ourselves, is this counting or is it measuring? So we see that we have time and we have distance, and those are things that we measure. We're measuring. So therefore, this is going to be continuous. And since it's continuous, we are going to be we're going to be writing our values between something. So it's going to be something with x, something, and then something for y, something for our domain and range. Okay? Well, we already know what our range is going to be, because it is going to be from 0 is less than or equal to y, which is going to be less than or equal to 20, because we said that we were just going to be driving a total of 20 miles. That's how far McDonald's was. Okay, so then for our time, we are doing, so we have to figure out what that's going to be. All right, so therefore, since 20 is the furthest I'm going to go with for my y, I'm going to say 20 equals, and I'm going to plug that into my equation here. 16x. So now, in order to figure out what this x is, I'm just going to divide everything by 16, and then I get that x equals, oh, I need a calculator to work. Okay, so I'm going to get that x equals 1.25. So this is going to be my greatest x value right here. So that means my range is going to be 0 is less than or equal, I'm sorry, not my range, my domain is going to be 0 is less than or equal to x, which is going to be less than or equal to 1.25. Okay, so now, let's see, I'm going to ask myself, are my points going to be connected, or is it going to be points only? But we already determined that. Over here when we said it was going to be, we were measuring, and so it was continuous, so we have connected points. So we filled in our table here. Now it wants to know how many hours does it take Kelly to get to the end of the bike track. So it took her 1.25 hours, and we know that because whenever our y value had an output of 20, our x value, our input value was 1.25. So we knew that that's how long it took us to travel the 20 miles. Which is a very long ride. Now it's asking what is the domain of the ranges 8, 12, 16, and 20. So for this one, it's listing it out as discrete, these like specific points. So we want to list ours like that as well. Even though it truly is a continuous graph, we're just going to find it for these values. So what I'm going to have to do is solve for x on each of these. I've already taken care of this one. This one's good. So now I have that 8 equals 16x. So I'm going to just divide everything by 16, and I'm going to see that x equals 0.5. So part of my domain is 0.5. Okay, so next is going to be 12. I'm going to say 12 equals 16x. So then when I divide everything by, not 12, 16, I'm sorry, because I want to get x by itself. I get that x is 12 divided by 16 gives me, 0.75. So that's another, like, distinct point in my domain. And then for 16 equals 16x. I know that I'm just going to divide everything by 16. So then x equals 1. And then my last one for the 20 was 1.25. So that is my domain for this range right here. Okay? All right, so let's just go on to number 4. We'll go for 2 whenever we get to the back. All right, so this one says Jason is driving at a rate of 50 miles per hour. His total trip is 150 miles. This right here is going to have to do with my range. All right, so determine the rate of change. So we know it's 50, right, because it's connected to this per. So my equation for this situation is going to be y equals 50x. All right. So I want to know, am I going to have points only, or are my points going to be connected? So remember, this is where I'm asking if it's discrete or continuous. So I need to set up my table over here. So I know that my x values, based upon like whenever I found my slope, my x value is going to represent time. And then my y value is going to represent distance, like in miles. Okay, so again, I see that I'm measuring, so therefore it's continuous. Okay. Now, I know that my distance is going to start at 0, right? That's going to be my smallest amount of distance that I can have because I can't have a negative distance. And then I'm going to travel for a total of 150 miles. So since this is continuous, that means my y values are anywhere from 0 to 150. So this part where it says write all possible y values, the output, this is talking about my range. It's asking for the range. So I know that 0 is going to be less than or equal to y, which is going to be less than or equal to 150. Okay, so now let's talk about what all of our possible values are for x. What I need to do is just go into the calculator, because I know that when I start off with 0 time, I'm going to have 0 distance. So I know these two go together, but I needed to know how far I'm going to go, or how many hours I'm going to travel before I hit this 150. So y equals 50x, so I'm going to go to the table. And look, whenever I have an output of 150, I see my input is 3. So that means I would just travel a total, or not myself, but Jason is traveling for a total of 3 hours. So therefore, this is going to be 0 is less than or equal to x, which is going to be less than or equal to 3. This is my domain that it was asking for. And here, we just discovered that it was continuous, so we know it's going to be connect. Okay, so on this one it says to fill in the table on the right. We already did it. Now it's asking if he has driven 100 miles, how long has he been on the road? So all I have to do, remember miles is the y value. So I see I have 100 miles here, so therefore it was for 2 hours. Okay, let's flip over to the back to go to number 3. Number 3 says Fernando received a $15 gift card for Spotify, and each song he downloads costs $1.50. So the rate of change is going to be 150 because it's telling us each song he downloads. So it's like they're saying it's $1.50 per song. So 150 is my rate of change. So my equation. So I have to think, I'm subtracting 150 from this $15 for every time that I purchase this song. So it's going to be 15 minus 150x. Okay, so I want to know if I'm going to be connecting my points. Connecting my points or points only. So again, is it discrete or is it continuous? So now, before we can ask ourselves if we're measuring or if we're counting, we need to kind of fill out our table here. So I know that my x here is going to represent the songs. And then my Y is going to be my total for my gift card. Okay, so I know that my total is starting off at 15, and then it's going to go all the way down to 0. Okay? So whenever I'm starting off at 0 songs, I know that I still have $15 on my gift card. So then I need to know how many songs I would have until I reached 0 on my gift card. So what we're going to do is just plug our equation into y equals here. Oh, but before we do that, let's see what kind of graph we have. So I see that I have song and I have total dollars. I know that we count songs and we count money, right? So we're counting. So it's going to be discrete. So let's go over here and say we have points only, right? Oh man, I forgot to like match up the graphs. We'll have to go back to that. Okay, so we have points only. So now, let me go ahead and do this part. So y equals, I'm going to say 15 minus 1.50x. I'm going to go to my table here. All right, so I know when I have done one song, I have $13.50 left. This is all based off of my graph here. And then 2 songs, I have $12. 3, 10, 5, 4, 9, 6. All I'm doing is, like I said, filling out my table. So 7 is 4.5, 8 is 3, 9 is 1.5, and 10 is going to be 0. Okay, so that means I can have a total of 10 songs, right? Okay, so this is asking, is it possible to purchase part of a song? Can I purchase like half a song on Spotify? No way. So again, this is telling us, this is just kind of reiterating that this is it's discrete because it's points only. It's distinct points. It's not anything that I can break up into fractions. So we filled out our table. So it wants to know, can Fernando purchase 12 songs with a gift card? Well, when we look at our table at 12, we have negative $3 here. So we would have to say no because he doesn't have enough money. Okay, so it wants to know what is the domain if the range is 12, 9, and 6. Well, at 12, our domain is 2. At 9, we would have 4. And at 6, we would have 6. So that means my domain is going to be 2, 4, and 6. Right, 2, 4, and 6, yeah. Okay. Last one. Netflix has changed their payment policy, and Samantha is deciding if she wants to keep her subscription. They now charge an initial fee of $20, and there is an additional cost of $15 every 2 months. To maintain her membership, she decides to keep her membership for 1 year. So determine the rate of change. So this one's a little tricky because it's telling you it's $15 every 2 months. So that means my rate of change is like 15 over 2. Okay? So my equation for this would be y equals 15 over 2x, and then plus, I can't forget my initial fee of $20. Okay? Now, it's asking me if I'm going to have points only or if it's going to be connected. So again, is it discrete or is it continuous? Okay, so let's look and see what our x and y values are. So they're charging me $15 per month, right? The cost is $15 per month. So that means this is months for x. And then my y value is going to be the cost. So when I look, I see that I am counting, right? I count months and I count money. So I'm counting. That means it's discrete. So we would have points only. So now let's kind of work out our graph here. So I know at 0 months, I'm only going to have to pay $20, right? And then at 2 months, I would be charged what? So it would be $15 plus the 20. Let's just put it into our thing here. We'll put in our equation here. So we have y equals alpha y equals n. Let's see. So at 2 months, I have 35, and then at 4, I have 50, and at 6, I have 65. And I'm increasing it by 2 because it was saying every 2 months. So that's why I keep increasing it by 2. So we've kind of filled in our table here, right? So how would the possible X values change if Samantha had to pay $7.50 each month instead of $15 every 2 months? So let's just look at that on the table, right? Because this time, if it's $7.50 each month, my new equation is going to be y equals 7.5x plus the $20. So again, this is months, and this is the cost. So I'm going to say 7.5x plus 20, going to my table here. So again, we still start off at 0 and 20. And then I have 1 at 27.5. And then 2, I have 35, 3. I have 42.5. 4, I have 50. You can see that my values are really the same. And really and truly, if you were to take this 15 and divide this by 2, you get that your rate of change is 7.5. So therefore, the X values do not change. You're still getting, it's still getting, well, I mean, other than your X values just become, they count by 1s instead of 2s. So X values would count by 1 instead of by 2. And the graph would not change. Graph would not change. So it wants to know, what is the range for 2, 8, and 12? So for 2, 8, and 12, wait, what is the range if the domain is 2, 8, and 12? So right, I'm looking for my my Y values here. So at 2, I have 35, and at 8, I have 80, and then at 12, I have 110. So that is my range for that situation. Okay, so now let's match up the graphs here. So starting back on number 1, right, I see that I am traveling a total of 20 distance, or a total of 20 for on my distance, right? And that my slope is going to be going up. So I'm looking for a Y value that only goes up to 20. So if you look at B, right, and you see that it's connected, you look at B, it stops at 20 whenever this value is at, what, like 1.25, which matches up to what we had here. So therefore, B represents, or is the graph that represents this situation. Okay, so for the next one, I have that Y equals 50x. That's my graph. And then I also see I should have the point of 3 and 150, and it should be continuous, right? So, but it's going to end at 150. So if I look at graph F, you can see I have 3 at 150. That's where it stops, and it's continuous, right? Just like ours here, the way we described it. So this one is F. Okay, flipping it over. So for this situation, right away we know that we have a downward slope, right? Because it's negative. We know it's going to have dots because it's discrete. The only one that's available is A, and you can even see that its starting point is at 15, which was what our y-intercept was. So this is going to be graph A. And then for number 2, this one is one that could continue on forever. It wouldn't have a stopping point until like they ended their contract. So, but it has to be dots because it's discrete. I'm sorry, I'm not even showing you what I'm talking about. So it has to have dots because it's discrete, but like, again, it all depends on how long they have their contract with Netflix, how many times they purchase it each month, or for how many months they purchase it. So I know it's going to start off at 0. For X, but then where's my plus 20? Oh, right here. So for D, you can see it starts at 20, right? That's my y-intercept, and then it's going to continue on, and it's just dots. So this one would be D. Okay? And so that is all for this paper.